What happens in the dark will always come to the light. Today, I'm shedding light on a case that is coming out of Wisconsin, where a college professor is charged with homicide after the woman he was having an affair with refused to get a termination. Now, there's some updates in this case, and how I'm going to go about it is I will give you a summary rundown so you get the main points. Then we're going to go into reading the criminal complaint because I have that document. The criminal complaint, which is the second version of it, and I'll explain that in a moment, is 14 pages long. But criminal complaints, affidavits, they give all of those really important details into the case to truly understand what happened, and it's the probable cause of why this man, who is Matt Sierra, is getting charged. So let's get into what this case is about. Matt Sierra is 38 years old, and he's being charged with the unaliving of 27-year-old Alexis Pickett on November 13th, 2025, and subsequently burning her home down. He's also being charged for the death of her unborn child and of Pickett's dog, who was killed in the blaze. Now, I know she had a cat, but I haven't heard anything about what happened to the cat in this situation. Charges were initially filed against Matt on December 17th. However, the La Crosse judge, Scott Horn, dismissed the charges after finding that the criminal complaint was insufficient during a December 23rd hearing. On December 26th, the La Crosse District Attorney's Office filed a new complaint against Matt Sierra with 14 additional pages of detail, and the case moved forward. So the judge had given them 72 hours to come back with a revised criminal complaint to see if they could stick to the charges. This is how we now have the updated charging document, which is what I will be reading out today. And it alleges that Matt Sierra, who is married to another woman, unalived Pickett here and lit her house on fire months after she informed him that she was pregnant with his baby. Matt and Alexis already have a 2-year-old child together, and Matt reportedly tried to persuade Alexis to have their baby terminated, but she refused. The criminal complaint goes into more details about that, so let's just go right into the criminal complaint. So because this criminal complaint is long, that is why there's going to be multiple parts to this. When we get to the final part, I will let you know. Just make sure that you are following me to keep along with the story. So looking at the criminal complaint, it identifies the counts, the charges that Matt is facing. Count 1 is first-degree intentional homicide. Count 2 is first-degree intentional homicide of an unborn child. Count 3 is arson of a building. Count 4 is mistreatment of animals. On November 13th, 2025, at approximately 3:31 a.m., Officer Zumack arrived on scene to a structural fire at Taylor Street in the city of La Crosse. Officer Zumack observed the second-floor southeast side of the residence to be on fire, with an open flame emitting through the second-floor window, as well as flames starting to consume parts of the roof just outside the window. After speaking with neighbors and learning a mother and son usually stay at the residence, Officer Zumack went up to the residence of Taylor Street and knocked multiple times before attempting to open the front door of the residence. When Officer Zumack turned the door handle to enter the residence, he found it to be unlocked. As he opened the front door, he observed smoke consuming the bottom floor of the residence. At this time, parts of the roof began to fall near the front door of the residence. Due to the heavy smoke and the roof beginning to collapse due to fire, Officer Zumack backed away from the residence for safety reasons. At that time, La Crosse Fire Department was not yet on scene. Officer Zumack then assisted in evacuating the next-door residents of the attached duplex at Taylor Street as the La Crosse Fire Department arrived. The apartment is owned by the La Crosse Housing Authority. They did not consent to the burning of the apartment. Officer Peterson also responded to the scene and made contact with a neighbor who's being identified by the initials MF. MF told Officer Peterson she was aware a woman with a young son, approximately 2 to 3 years old, lived in the residence that was currently on fire. Officer Peterson asked MF if she was aware of anyone else living there, and MF indicated she has seen an orange SUV at the residence multiple times, but she was unsure of who drove the vehicle or the nature of the relationship to Taylor Street. Sergeant Burge arrived on scene at approximately 3:35 a.m. He was eventually approached by a neighbor identified as MM. MM said that she was familiar with the female who lives at the incident location and drives the black car parked out front. It was later learned that the black car was registered to AP, which is Alexis. Investigators also learned that Alexis owned a small breed dog. Investigator Westphal had been informed that once LCFD arrived on scene and extinguished the fire, they located one deceased person in the second-story southeast portion of the residence. This person was later positively identified through dental records as Alexis by odontologists Ann Noriander and Matt Murfield. Investigator Brandy learned that a deceased dog was located during a search of the apartment on November 24th, 2025. DCI agents discovered the dog behind and underneath the toilet in the bathroom. Investigator Radant of the La Crosse Police Department states that he was assigned to the fire aspect of the investigation with the LCFD and DCI arson inspectors and to the State Fire Marshal Office. The body of the victim, Alexis, was located in a bedroom on the second floor of Taylor Street, and the La Crosse County Medical Examiner's Office was notified and requested to respond to the scene for the removal of the body. After the body was removed and turned over to the Medical Examiner's Office, S.A. Gregory Erickson exited the residence with what appeared to be a severely fire-damaged flip smartphone that was located under the body of the victim. During the excavation of the fire scene, S.A. Nathan Reblin advised that a possible heel/foot bone was located in the room the victim was located and removed from the previous day. He requested the ME return to the scene and the bone was turned over to M.E. Bailey Mason. Investigator Radant conducted follow-up and made contact with M.M. Officer Rollins had contact with M.M. on November 13, 2025, and she advised she would be checking her video cameras at the rear of her residence, which faced southwest and observed the rear door to Taylor Street. M.M. said that her neighbor Alexis would be outside with her son and play with their dog. Alexis would leave in the morning every day, implying she possibly had a job. Her neighbor's pattern changed approximately 6 to 7 months ago when a taller, skinny black male was coming around the house. Her vehicle would be home more and there would be no activity in the house. She saw a few males driving her neighbor's vehicle as well. M.M. mentioned how the male would stand in the back of Taylor Street and smoke. She said that he would say hi if M.M. was outside in her backyard. Sometimes the male and her neighbor would leave together in her car and sometimes just the male would. M.M. says that she was aware her neighbor was pregnant and due in April. M.M. saw online in the comment section from the WXOW Facebook page that her neighbor was, quote, beefing with her, quote, baby daddy, and was also told by a neighbor that she was looking to get oxycodone. M.M. knew her neighbor is a recovering addict, but knew that she was getting clean and had always been polite and quiet. M.M. said that a female friend would also come around and hang out with her, who she assumed was her sister or friend. M.M. said that she wants to help as much as she can and said she's been hearing the cause of the fire was electrical because the neighbor at Taylor Street, that she is on the west side of the duplex to Taylor Street, made comments on the same WXOW Facebook page that they have had electrical issues in their apartment as well. M.M. went on to say how she has lived in her unit for 10 years and has never had any issues, and she hasn't heard of any complaints from other neighbors. M.M. said she didn't think that her neighbor would have fallen asleep with a cigarette, and she was asked if her neighbor smoked and said that she never saw her smoke. She also didn't think that it was self-harm. M.M. said she could usually get a good idea of people who would come through the units, and she could pick up on their behaviors and personalities. She could tell which people either don't care or would try and make things better and keep to themselves and keep their place looking nice. She saw her neighbor Alexis from Taylor Street as someone who was trying. She was with her kid and she was active. M.M. was asked the last time she saw her neighbor, and she said that she remembered hearing her lock her vehicle over this past weekend. She knew it was her neighbor locking the vehicle because she heard the horn active about 5 times from locking it. She said her neighbor had done that since her vehicle was broken into. This is going to end part 1. Please make sure that you are following, liking, and sharing my content. That greatly helps my page. I will see you all over in part 2.